Hey chain gang, it's Amy again. So I know that we joined the chain gang and then we tried going straight for a little while, but now I'm gonna grab my pistil and show you how to do the pistil stitch. So grab your needle, grab your pearl cotton, your fabric, your hoop, and let's get stitching. So the first fabric I'm going to show you, this is a cotton linen blend, and I like it because you can see that there's a little bit of space between the fibers, so that's easier to pull your needle through. The second fabric that I like is this oak shot cotton, and I like it because going in this direction are blue threads and going in this direction are light blue. So these are dark blue and these are light blue. And what that does is it creates a really nice texture as the background for your embroidery. The third example is silk, and this is 100% silk, and it's pretty easy to stitch on. The one thing I do notice is that when you poke your needle through, it creates a little line. So if you're stitching straight, that's great. If you're not, just be wary of when you stick the needle in that it doesn't tug too hard. Sort of scooch it in so that it makes room for it. The fourth example that I'm showing you is velvet, and this is black velvet. And a couple things I want to let you know of is make sure after you cut it, you do something around the edge of the velvet so that it doesn't fray and come apart. And the other thing is velvet really creates a lot of drag on your embroidery floss or your embroidery pearl cotton. So just don't use really long pieces because it'll start looking frayed near the end. The fifth example I'm showing you is 100% felted wool. And this wool is from Kim Schaefer's line of wools with Andover fabric. And I really love this wool. It's got a really lovely hand. And wool it's so easy to embroider through. And the embroidery comes out looking really lovely. So now we're going to put the two together. We're going to look at the pearl cotton on the different fibers and fabrics. So once again, this is felted wool, and you can see the different size pearl cotton and what the stitches look like. So if you're going for something more delicate, you would want to go with the lightest weight pearl cotton, which is the 12, and then that's the 8. That's the 5, and that's the 3. So you can see that you can make the stitches almost all the same size. It's just a matter of how much the stitches sort of pop and stand out on the fiber. The second example of the stitches is on the 100% silk fabric. And once again, you can see the delicate stitches to the heavier stitches. One of the things I noticed with the silk was if you can see on this, the size 3, pulling through the silk because the silk is so tight, really frayed the edges of the size 3 pearl cotton. For something like stitching with silk, I would stick with either the 12 or the 8 because anything bigger starts looking sort of messy. The fourth example that I'm showing you is the black velvet. And this is a polyester velvet, and there's a couple things that I noticed about it. One, it is a magnet for lint. It just, every single piece of lint sticks to it, so I'm not really happy with how that turned out. And it did the same thing the silk did. It really created really fuzzy pearl cotton. And I think for the black velvet, you could get away with using a size 5, but once again, I'd go with an 8 or a 12, and I have to say sewing on this velvet was probably the hardest fabric that I sewed on. And the last example is the oak shot cotton, and this is my favorite to stitch on, as I mentioned earlier. And you can see these two, this lighter one, the size 12, it sort of gets lost here, so I don't think I would do that. This next one, the 8, it definitely stands up. And as I mentioned, I really like how the 5 looks here, and I think the 3 looks good too. So if I really wanted to do something and have a lot of focus, I would go with the 3. Now we're going to work on our pistil stitch. I don't necessarily think you need to draw lines, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw 2 sets of lines and then stitch the other 2, and you decide if you think you need the lines or not. So for the pistil stitch, There's one longer one in the middle, then there's a shorter one and another short one. So you're making like a little stem for some flowers, and then at the end there's a little knot. So I'm gonna draw two, like I said, and then I'm not gonna draw the other two, and then we'll see which ones we like, how they turned out better. So we've got our arched chain stitch, we've got our straight stitch looking like a fan. So the next thing we're gonna do is add our pistil stitch. So the pistil stitch is a combination of a straight stitch and then a French knot. So we're gonna knot our pearl cotton, and then we're gonna come up through the bottom, and I'm gonna do the middle one first. I've got one that's marked, or two that are marked, and two that are not. So I've got it in, and then I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3. Look familiar? Remember what I said, the French knot. So I'm gonna pull the thread this way as I go through to make it nice and crisp. And that's a pistil stitch. It looks like a little stem and a little flower. I'm gonna do the next one right at the base. And I'm gonna angle it a little bit. I drew my line to go straight, but I think it'd be prettier to come out at an angle. So I'm gonna do that. So I'm going to wrap my thread 3 times, go right here, hold it down. And this is the fun thing where you really see what's cool with the variegated, because now all of a sudden my flower is turning red. I'm going to go back in, do the same thing again, 1, 2, 3, and now I'm going to get a really pretty red little flower. I'm going to pull that through. I'm going to try to pull it through. There we go. And we have 3 little flowers, and don't they look sweet? So let's go to the next row. So we're gonna come up at the bottom, we're gonna go up, we're gonna loop around 3 times, and I'm gonna make this one just a little bit taller because I feel like those ones are sort of small. And we are all done with that stitch. Thank you so much for stitching along with me. Let's just pop this out of the hoop and see what it looks like. And I hope by now you've subscribed to our YouTube channel so that you can see all of our videos. So there you go. So now we have a 3-stitch combination. We've got our chain, we've got our straight stitch, and we've got our pistil stitch. So remember to subscribe to our C&T Publishing YouTube channel, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Thank you.